Yeah, that's right. Welcome to Ask the Experts, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce's series to help business leaders grow their companies with practical advice and answers you can implement right away. Special welcome to those watching on Zoom. You are a valuable part of our audience today, and those that are watching the recording on YouTube sometime in the future. My name is Paul Casey. I'm a leadership coach and trainer with Growing Forward Services, and privileged to be your facilitator today. This is a free benefit of your chamber membership and couldn't be possible without the generous sponsorship of STCU. With us today is Sarah.
Great, I think we can adjourn the meeting because I think these people know all about networking. Networking is you learn unusual things, and I'm here to tell you, I just heard from my niece, and there's a foot of snow in Lafayette, Louisiana. That
Wow.
never hits. So there you go. Next time you see me in Lafayette, Louisiana. And Paul Casey has done an outstanding job for us all year long.
Yes.
Moderating and finding quality speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. We're grateful for STCU's support. So for approximately half of our 90 minutes together, our experts will be presenting gold nuggets on the topic of networking. For the second half, they will answer your questions. If you would like to ask a question, and we would encourage everyone here to think of one question, even if you're an introvert. Think of one question today. Whether you're virtual or here in the room, you can text me at this number if you want to stay anonymous. Or you can use the chat if you're on Zoom today, or if you're in the room, you can just raise your hand and we will call on you. And so I'll try to vet the questions and feed them to our experts, getting to as many as we can in our time. And hit them up afterward for their contact information if you want to follow up with them after our session. Let me introduce our speakers today. Mr. Matt Taubman is a PhD physicist at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. During his nearly 25 years at the lab, Matt has managed both projects and staff extensively. Key themes have long been clear in his career, including task prioritization, time management, and networking. Matt has worked with both staff and managers across the lab to help guide people's careers and present leadership perspectives gleaned from both personal experience and referencing leaders in the field. Networking has remained a cornerstone to Matt's perspective on how to succeed in life, both professionally and personally. And then we have Lori Powell, raised in Walla Walla, the town so nice they named it twice. She moved to the Tri-Cities in '96 after chasing down the man of her dreams and catching him, Rod Powell.
That's right.
They have a son, Derek, who married Haley, and a granddaughter, Scarlett, and another one on the way. Best Christmas gift ever.
Ever.
She has had multiple careers in the service industry, including waitressing, hotel maid, working with developmentally disabled adults and children, chemical dependency counselor, personal trainer, health and wellness coach, and independent distributor with AdvoCare. Networking queen for the past 15 years.
That's right.
Self-dubbed, I assume.
That's right.
No, you are. If you've been to any chamber events, you've seen this gal, Lori Powell. So I'll turn it over to you two, and we thank you for giving your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Oh, this is a fantastic crowd, so you all must be expecting something really good. This is awesome.
The accent's worth it at all.
The accent, okay, well, I can just leave. We can leave that. Yeah, I can't help the accent. I am Australian. I've been in the state now for nearly 30 years and it hasn't gone anywhere. I try to speak American and people say, stop, don't ever do that. Right. So we're going to start with elevator pitches because that's part of our spiel. So I'm going to give my elevator pitch now. I'm Matt Taubman. I'm a scientist, I'm a manager, I'm a coach. I am a manager who's realized that life's about people. This is rather unusual for managers and scientists and engineers. And so, well, I say it that way because, you know, I know quite a few scientists and engineers who don't realize that. But I sort of tongue in cheek say, well, I show both transistors and people who they really are. And that's what I do. So I'm an analog engineer, which is a rare thing too, because not many people do analog electronics anymore, but I also do career development of people and help them see where they really want to go and then help them find out what their mind style is and their thinking style. And it's so rewarding, it's fantastic. What I get back from that is growth My philosophy is expansion of consciousness together, expansion together, growth together. That's who I am. That's what I do.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm Lori Powell with AdvoCare, where we build champions. I can help you feel better. Well, what do I do? Just kidding. Help you feel better, perform better, sleep better, everything better that you need to do. I would love to help you accomplish any of those things that you're looking to do. That's my 30-second elevator pitch. Sweet, short, to the point. Hopefully catches your attention like, what? Sleep better, feel better? Oh, wait, I can also help you gain weight. What? I can do what? Anyway, so that's also in the repertoire, depending on the audience that I'm speaking to, okay? So it really depends on who am I talking to. All right, take it
Okay.
away, Matt.
All right, so what we're going to do this afternoon, so apparently in the way this is often working, I must admit rather sheepishly that I haven't been to one of these before. This is the first time I've come to ask the experts and I end up out here. How'd that happen? Anyway, instead of me talking for however long and then Laurie talking, we're going to work together through this. And so we've adopted a networking presentation, which I've given for quite a while. And then in talking with Laurie, we've worked out what things we see in common and what things we see differently. Because I work and live professionally in a very structured environment where I am a level 4 physicist, and that's an internal designation. And there are managers above me and directors and CEOs and people like that. And I work with other people who are subordinate to me or peers with me. It's a very structured environment where I have to understand networking in a certain way. Laurie is very different to me in that respect. She's an entrepreneur. She sees networking a little bit differently. So when we first went through the talk that I was using as a basis or suggesting as a basis, Laurie stopped me and was like, wait. I see that differently. And I see the emphasis here. And I'm like, good. Now I get to learn something and I see how to see it differently. That's good. That's what I want. And so we came up with this title, Networking What Matters. It really comes down to the core of what is important. And that's different for different vocations and it's different for different people. And we may not encompass it all. In fact, I'm sure we won't, but we're going to hit a lot of high points through this. And so this is a network. I just hit the slide there and it came up that little diagram there. I can do it again in case you missed it. It's very dramatic. But the point about it is this is a good network. You want to see it again? It's a good network because it's not closed. Right? You know what a buckyball is? It's like it's a bunch of carbon all closed together, right? And it's a closed unit. Networks can get like that. It's a closed-in network. In a closed-in network, everything that network knows dies with its members. Sorry to be morbid, but it just does. Everything in that network dies. This network has pieces that branch out to other places. It's an open network. That's one of the characteristics of a good network, a dynamic network. So underneath our names there, I've got a little adage, act like a leader, think like a leader. That's very important for this talk because a lot of the inspiration for this talk, in fact, what I tended to do routinely as I was evolving through my career is I would read leadership books, and this was one of them. And I'd say this often, it's like, this is the best book I've ever read, right? And then I'd pick up another one and read it. This is the best book I've ever read. And we just keep going like that. There was 3 or 4 books that I based this talk on. This is probably foundational for the presentation. Hermione Ibarra, this book is really worth getting and reading. And she makes the point very clearly. You can't know what something is like doing until you do it, right? So act first and then correct. Think about it. You can sit on the sidelines trying to work out what it's going to be like to be an entrepreneur all your life, but you're not going to know until you do it, right?
Exactly.
You're not going to know what it's like to be a physicist until you learn some physics and you go out and start doing it. And yeah, okay. So she's a leader in the field that I would always reference. And there's all sorts of good quotes through this that I could put in, but I've streamlined this talk down to a rather sparse outline so that we have the time to talk together and discuss and ask questions. I get straight to the point. What is networking? It's really good to have a definition. I'm going to give you multiple definitions of this, and we're going to talk together about those definitions because we have different emphasis on this, and that's great. So what is networking? And then I look at 3 types of network. Now, this is particularly relevant for the structured environments that I work in. This is just a solid piece of gold, looking at the three different networks and why they're different and how to handle them differently. Because most people don't think about it at that level. It's like, oh, networking, right? When I got to the lab, and I was very lucky, I got into a program where I was basically fed money and told to do certain things, and it was great. I thought this was fantastic. Management changed, that person left, and then I didn't have that. And that was as scary as all get out. And then my manager said to me, well, you need to network. I was like, well, what do I do? And then it's like, go look at somebody else's lab. And it's like, so I left the building and went somewhere else, and they're like, look at him, he's networking. Okay, there's a lot more to it than that. Understanding these things is important, okay, for this kind of structure. All right, then I'm going to look at what I call shadows, traps, and blind spots. Things go wrong in networks, okay? How many times have you come home, it's like, I really had a problem with this person at work today, had a fight with this person, that was... It all comes down to certain networks and what goes wrong in this network. I think at least 50%, maybe 80% of the kinds of issues you run into comes down to what can go wrong in networks. Then I'm going to look at common excuses. And actually, I'm not going to look at that. Laurie is going to look at common excuses for why people don't network. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I'll leave that for Laurie. There's general do's and don'ts. This is a fun piece because I give a version of this talk for quite junior staff. I've given a level of this talk for senior staff too. This talk can be flown at pretty much every level, but do's and don'ts, they're all fairly common. And what's comical about this is I get to honestly and truthfully tell you that everything on the don't list I've done. And it's got consequences. So I get to tell you up front, don't do these things. Okay. So what does a good network have? It goes back to that first slide I showed you, right, with the openness, that's one of the things. And then networking for leaders. Leadership and networking go hand in hand. They are very important. There can be a discussion about leadership and management too. They're not the same thing, right? But networking is fundamental to leadership, and leadership is fundamental to good networking. Then we're going to do a look at the elevator pitches that we just gave you and explain why we did it the way we did it and how we think you should do it. Because you really got, what do you say, 10 seconds? 10, 15,
Yep.
We do a 30 minutes, 30-second elevator pitch. You've got 10 to 15 seconds. It's called an elevator pitch because you get in the elevator with, and you meet your boss by accident, and you've got until you get to the 3rd floor to talk about something and try to get a meeting set up, right? That's where the term comes from. Okay, and then there's final pointers. All right, so let's get straight into it. What is networking? Webster's definition. I thought I'd start with that, and just to get an actual formal definition. The exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions specifically. I'm not so fond of that first one. Okay. The cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. I like that one a lot better. In the particular mode of thinking that I was in at the time and who I was trying to address and who I was trying to reach, I came up with another one. This is my definition. Actively seeking connections that enable us to become more than the sum of our parts. This is powerful, speaks to me, because it actually has embodied within that with whom you should be networking and perhaps with whom you might not want to network. If you're not going to be more than the sum of your parts, you probably shouldn't be connecting there. If you're going to be more than the sum of your parts with those people, that's a good networking node, right? It also makes you think about what that means with what bits and pieces and maybe what technology or what things are going on. But it's less about what you need from others. And even not only about what you think they might want from you, it's what you can be together. That's, in my mind, my heart and soul is the key, because that leads to let's do something awesome. Now, I'm going to speak about those bubbles over there in a second. I can look at you all and honestly say, everything I do right now, including being right before you here today, all the things I'm doing at work, the fact that I'm married to the woman I'm married to, all comes down to networking. If I hadn't have networked, I wouldn't have met this character over here, Paul Casey, who I'm indebted to. Paul's a great guy. It's like, I wouldn't have met Paul, I wouldn't have met the people that I've worked with, and I wouldn't have the work that I have right now. Underneath the networking over here, I have certain bubbles. I'm not sure if you can all read that, but there's, I'm going to skip backwards so I can simplify this. There's things that underlie how a group or a team works. I'll let this come up again. So I've got to watch out for that. Okay, so networking is connected to leadership. That's connected to culture. Now, culture is a difficult term to describe and define. I'm not going to get into that today. There's various definitions for it. Underneath that, you have core values. A good working team has core values. And then that culture has a language. There's actually 5 different levels of language of culture. Then underneath or between the culture and the networking, there is often a noble cause. And so once you have these things, you have a powerful group, a powerful team, and an evolution. Those are the things that tend to go along with this whole picture. Right. I think you wanted to step in at this point.
That's it. Thank you so much. So I love that Matt has asked me to help him with this. I love that Paul Casey has introduced me to this gentleman. But I am trying to find where I fit in this technical terms of his networking. And I love it because it literally breaks it down into easy for me to understand. When I look at this, I love the definition personally. I love it. We talked a little bit about this. He's like, I really don't like Webster's. I love Webster's, but I only like the second piece. The cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. And I want to add relationships. Right? Networking is about relationships and who do you know? Relationships is key when you're networking. Because think about it. Are you going to do business with people you don't know? Are you going to do business with people that you've never heard of? My belief is networking is about gaining relationships so you will do business with people you know, like, and trust. Right? So think about that just for a second. Think about, where did you last buy something, a big purchase? Was it from somebody you knew? Was it from someone that you didn't know? How was the service? Did you see the value? Right? And for me, when I think about networking, I wouldn't be standing here today if I didn't learn how to network. If I didn't know or learn how to do that 30-second elevator pitch. My business is an online business. So guess what I had to do? I had to get out of my comfort zone and learn how to talk to people. I'm usually not shy or nervous, which is really weird because today I'm kind of like, I'm so freaked out. And I'm not normally like that. So I don't know what it is. Y'all are giving me this crazy vibe of being scared. But it's not you, it's me. So I'm just going to get that out there because I'm like, why do I feel this way? It's because when I think about doing this presentation with you, it is. I'm like, how do I fit in the box? And I keep hearing the voice, don't fit in the box. Just be you, Lori. Just be you and talk about what you do and how you have done what you have done. For the last 15 years, my business has been about networking because I have to talk to people. I have to get out of my comfort zone, come out and talk to people about the products and services I offer, right? And if I don't do that, my business will not flourish. I've been doing this business I'm in for 15 years, and I'm going to say this, I'm not bragging. I'm in the top 5 in sales in the nation. That's not something I tell people. I don't want you to think, oh, she's, bragging. No. I network because I want you guys to have the best experience. Now I'm kind of digressing and saying a couple of things out of turn. I don't like notes because they make me nervous.
You've got a lot of them though.
I do. I do. Just wait, there's a lot more. I love the second part of Webster's because it's really for me about building relationships. I love to connect people to solutions, adding value to their lives and helping them find what they need. And I get to make new friends. So if we're not friends yet, by the end of the day, if you talk to me, we will be best friends. I just want you to know that. That's my disclaimer, right? And I got to tell you, if you don't network, my experience has been if I'm not out networking, I am not going to be able to build the business or to help the people that I am supposed to help. Okay, now I'm all
good.
I'm good. Go for it.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
So welcome.
All right. As you can see, as you can see, we come from different backgrounds, and that's great. We have different perspectives on things.
Yep.
So I think that slide, managers to embody both our points of view. I think there's a lot of consonants here too. We do agree on what's important in the networking, right? So I'm going to dive straight into what I made a little bit, spent a little bit of attention on earlier, the three different types of networking, what they are and how they're different. So this is a, that's not all there is to this slide, by the way. It's like, this is a build slide. There's several different builds to this slide. And it begins with the empty circles. The three different types of network are operational, personal, and there's an asterisk next to the personal, not for you, but for me, it's to remind me to say that it's actually personal/professional. Now, when I first read about this in Hermione Ibarra's book, I thought, that's wrong, because personal is a different network to professional. But that's wrong, because there are actually a lot of overlap, and they're actually the same people by and large, as Laurie just explained, because she meets people, they can become part of her business or part of her business model. It's actually the same group by and large. The last circle over there is one of the most important in my world. It's a strategic network. Now, the reason why that is important, I think this is, I can say this is an area where Laurie and I have violent agreement on. And with also Tiffany, who was going to share the floor with us today, who couldn't be here, unfortunately. The strategic side of networking is very important, particularly if you're growing a business from it. So let's look at these more closely. What is in these networks? So from my area, so I'm in a national lab or in a business or somewhere where I'm working in a structure, the operational network has certain things in it. It has direct reports. If I'm a manager, I have people who report to me directly. If I am a staff member of some kind there, I have supervisors. And even if I have direct reports, I may also have supervisors. I may have an administrator working for me. I may have project teams if I'm a project manager. If I'm working in sales or production of some kind, I may have any of vendors, suppliers, distributors. And if I'm making things for people, I may have clients or sponsors or both. So this is the operational network, and I'll say more about that in a minute. Okay, the personal/professional network. By the way, I should say this up front. There's a PDF of this presentation which you're all going to have access to. That's correct. Just, I'm not saying don't take notes, but I'm just noticing people writing. If you're thinking you're not going to see this material again, you're mistaken. Right? It's going to come out. You're going to get the PDF. All right. Okay. So the personal/professional. This is a bigger network, and it's a little bit looser in some ways, right? It has allies, it has trusted advisors, it has peers, it has colleagues, kindred spirits, teachers, students, mentors, mentees. It has interest groups, personal interest, competitors, collaborators, friends, and family. It is the network that most people think of when you say networking. They go, oh yeah, that's this, right? People think of that straight up, and that's pretty correct. It's one of the biggest pieces of the network structure. You'll see why family is a different color in a minute. Okay. Strategic networks. As I said, most people don't have this. And this was something that I spent some time coaching junior staff about. Have a strategic network. Learn how to grow this. Okay. Say you're somewhere in a structure. 2 levels up and 2 levels down is important. Why? Because if you only relate 1 level up or down, you can trick yourself into believing that they're like you, because they will relate to you over the common ground. When it's 2 levels away, you'll find yourself in front of them going, because you won't know how to relate as easily, and you'll have to work at it. You have to put your networking cap on and work out how to do this, how to change your language, how to look at what they're doing, how to put yourself in their shoes. That's so important. Put yourself in their shoes so you can see what their day looks like. So I had a division director a while ago that I owe an enormous amount to. And he said to me, well, actually, I said to him to start with, so given the business model we've got, I think you do these things. And he listened to me for a few minutes and he said, Matt, that's not at all what I do. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to learn what he did and how he did that, what was in his day and what it looked like. And so That's why networking 2 levels up and down is good. If you're a senior staff member, networking with junior staff is important, because as you become senior, you can forget what it's like on the factory floor. You can lose touch with that. If you are a junior staff member, then networking upward with directors is important, because then you can see what the bigger picture is. You don't get to learn it otherwise. And so administrators exists in this circle over there, as well as the operational one over here, because if you're trying to connect to high-level people, very often the only way to do that is to talk to their administrators and get on their calendar that way, because their calendar is solidly blocked out. It's all just, you can't access it. Okay, so there's a different emphasis on the strategic side. The bottom one is very interesting: external leaders. Remember, I was talking about closed-in networks. If all you do is network within your own organization, you don't know how anybody else is doing things. One thing Hermione Ibarra spent some time talking about is go outside and look at what other people at your level in other organizations are doing. What's different about what they're doing? What do they like? What do they not like? Compare notes and bring things back home. That's one of the most powerful things a leader can do. Should be half and half, external and internal. All right. I've got to get going. There's a lot on this slide. Well, what's all this about? And then where does it take you? Can you all see the slides? Can you all see the screen one? Okay. All right. The operational network is about daily business requirements, and it's about getting today's work done, because it's an everyday thing. Your personal/professional is about you. It's about your interests, your priorities, and it's about your development, fun, and life. This is why it's the first thing people think about. The strategic one. This is about leadership. It's about vision. It's about context. It's about strategy. Again, these are things not everybody thinks about. It's about your evolution, your mission, and it's about change. You know, the old adage, constant change is here to stay. And I saw that when I was young. And, oh, that was funny. Okay, but it's true. Everything is changing. All right. The operational network is immediate. You walk into the place of work that you're in and you work with these people almost straight away. Okay, your personal/professional, this is short to medium term. Okay, it's a little bit looser in its requirements. You don't necessarily run into everyone in that network every day. Your strategic network is medium term to long. Have the long game in mind if you're building a strategic network, okay? You think about, it's about where you're going. So it kind of says, well, you've got to have some idea where you're going, really, doesn't it? That's part of it. Okay, your operational network. You have little choice. Unless you're the hiring and firing manager, you don't really have much choice with that one. Your personal/professional, you have huge discretion, except for family. That's why it's in blood red. Okay. Your strategic network. You may not know who to include until you've worked other things out, which is one of the drivers to work these things out. Try and work out where you're going. Have a 5-year plan. Look at what your career is doing, where you want to go. Your operational network is about efficiency. Your personal/professional is about diversity. Your strategic network is about relevance. That is the picture that is probably, I would say, the cornerstone of my version of the presentation, or my part of the presentation. So with that, you wanted to...
I'll try again.
Okay, over to Lori.
One more time. Thank you. I really like what Matt has put together and the way he has broken this down. And as I sit as an entrepreneur or business owner and look at what is my strategic, what type of network do I need and how do I function? I want to just talk about what is networking for me and what does that look like and what does that look like for you? I want you to think back to a time, I don't care if you were in elementary school, college, high school, or at your current job. I'm just going to kind of give some examples of me when I think of what networking looks like. And then you can tell me where you think it fits. Think about this. Have you ever been at work and someone says, oh, hey, I need a pen. Hey, do you know where I can get a pen? And if you go, oh yeah, hey, yeah, I can actually help you get that. Wait, I don't have it. I'm going to go get it from Joe. Oh, that's right. Don't get too close to the camera. Think about that just for a minute. Joe gives you a pencil for your friend Sam. You've just put in place a network to help someone get what they need, right? It's for me, it's super simple. I break it down into that type of networking for me. It's like I look back at my life and I think, when I was in elementary school, when I was in junior high, every profession I ever had was all about networking. It's about helping people find solution. It's about helping people get what they need, right? And when I think of this, when I first got into the business that I'm in, I worked in it was a multi-level marketing company. That was overwhelming and that was difficult because I had to network in order to bring people to the table. And then those people was where I got my bread and butter. And that, my friends, is the hardest thing I have ever done, right? So I had to be strategic about who did I talk to? How often did I talk to people? Where did I meet people? How do you find new people? What am I doing? Where do you go? So it's super important for you to be thinking in your mind, what does your business need? Who do you need to meet? What kinds of people are going to help you grow what you're trying to grow or change what you're trying to change? So be thinking about that. When I look at my career that I've had over the last however many years I am, everything I've ever done is about serving other people, aligning them with solutions and helping them get what they need. As a network queen, my job is when I meet somebody new at any networking event that I go to, the thing I want to do is I want to grab them and take them with me to every networking event that they can go to. Because I want to connect you to the person you need to meet so you can get what you need and they'll get what they need. So for me, I know this is kind of sounds weird. I'm a networking node is what Matt calls me, right? I'm a node. Never heard that word before. Because he's from a lab and I have no idea what they do out there. I'm kind of like clueless. But when he said that, I was like, he's like, so when you network, what are you looking for, Lori? And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I network, I'm not looking for what's in it for me. I'm looking at it as what's in it for you. How can I grow your business? How can I help you achieve what you need? Who do I know that you need to know? I've been called a connector. Now, some people do that for me, it's just natural. If you tell me you fighting cancer or you need new tires for your car or a therapist, guess what? I know someone. You need a great caterer? I know someone, right? It's about building relationships with people to connect them to the places and people they need to go where they're trying to get. And as I look around the room today, I see several people that I have brought into the networking environment with me. And I see today that their businesses are growing, they're exploding, they're meeting all the people they need to meet. And for me, that brings me joy. And here for me, I'm just going to be honest. If I don't get anything in return, that's fine with me. Can I work for free? Sometimes. But at some point, I do need to make a sale. And so I'm kind of going a little bit weird on this networking thing. But I find for me that I'm not in it for me, I'm in it for you. What can I do to help you win? Right? Because I know that I will be taken care of. Because if I do for you, you will remember how I took care of you. And then you will possibly refer people to me. Because really, it isn't, my business is a referral-based business. If you don't want what I have, then let me introduce you. Introduce me to somebody that does, but it's okay if you don't. I have no expectations. My biggest deal is I want to be your best friend. I know that sounds weird. It sounds super odd, but that's me. That's me at the core. So I have no idea if I even talked about 3 different types of networking. Let me check my notes. Hold one moment, please. I was thinking this is really.
While Lori's looking up her notes, I did not talk about internal nodes, and Lori remembered that I referred to her as a node. I hope she wasn't offended at it, right? But
It really does.
I apologize, but no, it's like the nodes in your network are critical because they are people who know everybody. They are the people who know all of the systems in an organization or all of the spaces or how to get things done. Lori is one of these people. Because when I first started talking to Lori, I'm like, oh, I really need to find this. And she's like, I've got someone who can do that. Oh, what about this? I've got something. And I'm like, wow. Okay, so Lori's a node.
I'm a node.
Right? In the nicest possible way, right?
And I'm a nice node. I really am. You should get to know me. Just kidding.
A t-shirt. I'm a node.
You're a node.
T-shirt,
Awesome.
t-shirt, yeah.
It provokes questions.
That's right, it does.
Right. And I think we're gonna talk a little bit more when we get into some of the other slides about some of the do's and don'ts and how and why and like the 30-minute pitch. I think there's a few things, but I just have to say that once I get into a networking organization, whether it's, I'm gonna throw out some names, is that okay, Paul? Can I say some names? Once I started going to our Link Up to Us community that we've had now for 10 years, and it's, anybody can come, y'all can come. Friday mornings, HBA, plug in that. Anyway, once I started going to that group, I started meeting some really amazing professionals that helped me also grow as a person. Not only does networking help me help you, it also helps me become a better version of me, because I get to learn from you, and that is super important. And from that group, there are now other groups that have started that every time I meet a new person, you're all gonna come to link up with me, you're all gonna come to the Thursday morning, you're all gonna come, I'm inviting y'all to everything. Because y'all need to come be with all the cool kids on Thursday and Friday morning, just so you know. All right, Paul, Matt, I'm done. Not
Okay.
Paul. Sorry. Yeah,
Lori, finish the thought on Link Up to Us. Go ahead and go put a plug for it.
Link Up to Us?
Yeah, what is it? Where, when is it?
Link Up to Us is it's twice a month at the Home Builders Association. It's free. Anybody can come. If you want to sponsor and talk about your business, you can do that. There is a fee for that, $150. And then we also have a speaker that talks about how do you do business better to help you become better at who you do better, right? And our next meeting is on the,
Man, we'll get back to you in a second.
it's next Friday,
Any particular time?
Yeah.
9 AM. But the cool kids show up at 8:45 so you can network for half an hour. Thank you, Paul.
Just don't show up on the wrong week.
Link Up to Us, it's actually, there's a Facebook page
Just
as
go to the
well.
Facebook page. It's
Yep.
Link Up, #2 us. It's got all the information. Find it.
We're good?
You're good. Okay.
Awesome.
A little better now.
So I think there's a lot in this slide. I was gratified to walk into a manager's office and find this one slide printed out and stuck on their wall after they'd seen my talk. I'm like, ooh, okay, that one worked. So, yeah, the strategic side of this really matters. And that's where you are with a lot of what you do. And it's strategy.
It's very much strategic, absolutely.
So now I get to talk about shadows, traps, and blind spots. And I had fun making this couple of slides here. And so PowerPoint's got all these wonderful things in it. You can do all sorts of nice effects. And I keep saying this would make a very nice 3D printed object if I could actually get it done. But it's like the three different networks I talked about. You have an operational network, which is like the feet you stand on, right? It's how you're operating. Then you have this personal professional network. It's like your arms out this way, reaching to the world, if you will. Then you have your strategic network, which is reaching upward. That's what this picture is meant to represent. So now we get to look at, well, what can go wrong? And they're not the only ways that can go wrong, but it's kind of illustrative. And so one of the first things that can go wrong is people tend to think that these network pictures are segregated and they're separate. That is not the case. People can flow through these different networks and take on different roles in these different networks. To wit, some of the most important structures networking wise, it forms a thing called power maps. Some of the power flows between people in an organization when their kids go to the same school, they go to the same churches, when they do these, when they've grown up together. There's a flow between things behind the scenes a little bit. And so don't believe that they're separated. You can fall into a trap that way. I have things around the outside of this diagram that indicate stuff that can go wrong. And I'm just going to quickly touch bases on all of these. There are some people, and it's okay to think this, relationships should form spontaneously. And by and large, they do. We're very good at that. I think, particularly if you're an expressive like me, I love meeting new people and I love interacting with new people. I make friends easily, I interact with people easily, and I network easily. So spontaneity is fine. But strategic networking is usually not spontaneous, right? It's designed. Okay. Lack of awareness of the power of networks. This one gets people into trouble. Okay. So I'm seeing all you people and I'm seeing all your faces and I'm telling you things. I'm now aware of my interaction with you. You're going to go home this afternoon and you're going to say, wow, I saw a really good talk this afternoon. Or you're going to say, yeah, I saw a talk this afternoon. It was kind of lame. Whatever. You're going to promulgate that idea. I'm not going to see the people you're going to talk to.
Right.
It's a level below where I'm looking. That can go, think 7 levels, okay? You do something memorable, good or bad, it's gonna go 7 levels. And with this, it can circle the globe in 2 hours. Just be aware of that. Back, I don't know how long ago, Stanley Milgram did an experiment to try and get information to a particular stockbroker in Boston, Massachusetts, and it took 6 weeks. In 6 steps. This was before they had any technology. It's 2 hours and it's 4.5 steps worldwide. So networking is extremely powerful. Do not underestimate the power of it. The bottom right talks about lack of connective advantage. This again goes back to that first picture I showed you that I showed you 3 times. If it's open and connects to different people across different strata, it's powerful. If it's closed in, it's risky. You may lose it. Also, the one on the bottom left, this is, I tell this to young people when I'm working with them. If it's all about your past, it's not going to help you lean into your future. Start looking, and this again is a strategic element. Look at what you're leaning into. Okay, so they're general things, but wait, there's more. Okay, the operational one, people that you tend to work with every day. Heard the adage, familiarity breeds contempt. Okay, how many of you have been in networks there where people start to get sort of prickly with each other and you're not saying good morning to each other anymore and you go straight in and you're butting heads straight away? This can happen in these networks. It is just what happens to us, to human beings. You have to be careful of this one. If you're working with people all the time, every day, take a step back and say, how was your weekend? You know, it's like, how are you feeling today? You know, it's like, share some personal information. Change that up a little bit. It makes a huge difference. And I've seen this particular thing on management videos in all sorts of different training courses all over the place. Because when you look at organizations where you tend to spend 1/3 of your life in a building together, there's the possibility for a lot of sparks to happen, right? When you've just got the same set of people, not necessarily for your whole careers, but there's the potential for problems there. Okay, so yeah, you can feel underappreciated. It can become overly familiar. It can feel stifled and closed in, and you won't see the damage that's being done because people are still trying to operate until it explodes. Okay. Now I'm giving you the worst case scenario. That's just because, well, worst case scenarios are one of the scenarios that happen. Okay. The personal/professional network. And again, I'm reaching for the worst cases here. It can be completely random. Random effort, random results, right? I won't use the words they actually talk about for that model, but it's like if you do things randomly, you'll get a random result. And this comes out of Hermione Ibarra's book. I wouldn't have necessarily put these terms in until she explained it. If it's lazy, let's just look at this. There's 5 reasons that people just on the surface tend to network. They're nearby, they're attractive, they're wealthy, they're powerful, and they look like them. All right. These are the reasons why people tend to network. Right. Okay, go to a different building, network with someone who is different, find people in a different field. This is how you strengthen and build a broad network. Narcissistic, finding people who look like you. And so there's another one over on the right-hand side, inconsistent and out of phase. What do I mean by this? Okay, I'm a physicist. You can see it's coming out there in the terminology. All right, inconsistent and out of phase refers to if you only use a network when you have an emergency, the image that network has of you is someone in desperate need. Okay, that's not the image you necessarily want to promulgate. Use the network all the time so people see who you are. Then when you've got a problem, the network goes, right, Laurie's in trouble. We need to give her this. And it responds like that. It's incredible how quickly a network can respond. But one that you only use when you're in emergency, it dulls it. So it has invisible depth. We already touched on that. Think 7 levels deep. All right. Remember the cell phone thing or the mobile phone. Worldwide, 4 steps, 2 hours.
That's crazy.
Okay. The strategic network. Well, the biggest problem that we have with the strategic network most of the time is people don't have one. It's like, oh, I need one of them. Yeah. And then you start doing it and it feels inauthentic. It's like, well, it's like, how do I network with them? I know nothing about them. Well, You have to get past that, because when you are networking with people higher up, they don't necessarily expect it to be personal and authentic anyway, or to feel authentic. They understand this because at a high level, that's how networking feels. And we're not necessarily used to that. So that can scare a lot of people. The high level networking can feel scary. It's like someone in mid-level at work, okay, I'm gonna go and have lunch with the CEO. How do I do that? Okay, I'm gonna find people who know that person, and I'm gonna find out what I might want to talk about. I'm going to prime myself for that interaction, right? There's a lot of steps to doing that. Having someone broker an introduction is a really good idea in that case. It sounds very Victorian area, but it's actually a really powerful thing, because a third person can say, Laurie, this is Skip. Sorry, this is Skip. This is the reason why you two need to talk. And Skip, this is why you might want to talk to Laurie. I have just done an incredible leadership service. Now I walk away, right? They now talk to each other and they can introduce each other to other people, right? That is a really powerful thing to do. Use that in your strategic side. Okay, this is you. Do you want the clicker?
No, actually, I want you to go back real quick to shadows,
Okay.
traps and blind spots. And I think it just depends on, like he's talking about, when you're looking at your network, like he's talking about, is it strategic, is it your operational? One of the things I have found with being a networker is people are terrified to go into a network where they don't know anybody, because they don't know what to say. They're like, what do I say? I don't want to sound salesy. And I hear this from top leaders in companies who say, yeah, I don't network. Yeah, I'm not, I know I'm scared. I don't talk in front of, I don't like meeting new people. And I think to myself, so then how do you then grow what you're trying to grow? How do you become better? I have some introverts in the room that I've actually introduced to networking, and they're actually growing, and it's super awesome to see, and I won't point them out to you. But I will just say that I have seen such change and growth that I just see this new person emerging, and I'm super excited about that. And it's about just practice. I think we fall into that pitfall of, I don't know what to say. I don't want to be inauthentic. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be weird. I love being weird. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm a weirdo. I have no problems admitting that. But I think in this trap, people are always super worried that they don't know what to say, and then they end up talking about themselves. They're all about what's in it for me. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in another slide as well. And the other thing that I hear people say is, why should I talk to them? They're not gonna be able to help me. And why would they help me? They don't know me. So again, it's all these excuses that people throw out, and I have done that.
I'm speaking to the next slide already.
Oh, my notes for the next slide. I just love this guy. He's like, I can't believe, Lori, you're doing this. Okay. Which
I'm just
button
here
is
to
it?
help. Right
Which one
hand,
is- right
right hand
one?
arrow. And just keep going.
Why we do, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, thank you. I actually have notes on that
I'm here
one
to
too.
help. I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
I have had such a great time getting ready for this presentation with this guy, let me tell you. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about the stuff I just talked about, but it's gonna be a little bit different wording, okay? So now why we don't do it, right? I don't have time. That, you guys, if you think about that, how much time do you spend on your phone? You're giving me this one? Okay, we're almost done.
We need to. So.
Fantastic. There's no charge code. That's for his work, not mine. It's not real work. That's not real. People don't really network. Nothing good is gonna come of that. I have other things to do that are more important. I don't know them. They don't know me, right? It never goes anywhere. Nobody ever talks to me. Or no business ever transpires from that. It feels inauthentic. I don't know who they are and how do I talk about me without being weird or pushy. It's awkward, right? So I don't like them. That's a good, when he saw, I'm like, what? Yes, they do. They love me. Anyway, and what can it possibly give me? Again, what's in it for me? It's a real acronym. WI was in it for me. You can figure that out, right? What can they give me? And again, they're not like me. I want to know more people in my network that are not like me, that do things differently than I do, so that I can help my friends and my colleagues find what they are looking for, right? Time. Some people say I don't have enough time, but what if you made the time? What's gonna happen to your business? What's gonna happen to your professional life? What's gonna happen to you personally if you make time? And it does take energy. It takes a lot of energy. But here's the other piece. You're gonna get energy back as well. If you're an extrovert like me, this is where I get all my energy, is right here from you guys.
Me too.
I feel bad for you introverts. I really do. I just don't know how you live like that. I'm just being silly, of course. Anyway, and here's networking of why we must. Is this me still too?
It's you take it away.
Awesome. I'm in my sweet spot. Okay. All right. Why we must network. It's how people find out about you. If you don't put out ads, if you don't talk to people, if you're not talking to people, if you're not, people don't know you, guess what? How are you gonna grow if you don't tell people? It can bring you the next project or your next big job, right? Resources you can draw on quickly, not the kind in emergency. I don't like emergency, being an emergency node. I don't like that, but I will do it. It keeps you informed. It's a tool to identify opportunities, teaches you new things. Who doesn't like something new? I don't. But anyway, it increases your self-awareness, situational awareness. This did say something else. He changed it for me. He was sweet. Allows you to grow with your environment, right? Because think about it. What is the thing that is most consistent in my life and in your life? It's called change. And the hardest thing about change is what? My resistance to it, right? Dig in your heels and guess what? How far can you go? Reputation. When you network, why you must and why you should is because it's about your reputation, okay? People will see you, it gives you power, and it gives you invisible depth. In my business, when I was in multi-level marketing, there was depth in my business. Today, that depth is gone. That is no longer a possibility. But for me, people will see what I do and they will tell their friends and they will tell their friends, even if I'm not in a multi-level marketing system any longer. But think about it. How many times have you gone to the movies and told your best friend about the movie and then they took their friend and their friend took their friend and how many layers, how many times have you told somebody about a restaurant you love? And what happens? They take their friends and they take their friends. And so it's just this ripple effect of word of mouth. That's networking because I see that as networking or connecting. He sees it in a little bit of a different structure. Oh, you need that back. Go
No,
ahead.
you can, there's
No.
there's one
Oh,
more.
there's one more.
There's several, that one's.
Social capital, right? And
There you go.
they are like me. They are looking.
Well, they're not like you, and that's the reason why you need to do it.
Right, but they really are like me. They're looking for this, you guys are looking for the same thing,
Yes.
right? You're looking for the same thing. So, there, that's my 2
That
cents.
was fantastic. Thank you.
Sorry, it took me so long to get there.
That's good. We're a little over time. Should we just keep going? I think we're,
Got about 3 more minutes.
okay. All right,
All right.
I have to go quicker and do this next bit.
Just do it real quick.
Okay.
Just do it.
The elevator pitch, you heard our elevator pitches. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're short of time, but basically you got 30 seconds. And Lisa Duckworth, her name is there because Lisa Duckworth was on a lot of the presentations that I gave for networking where the elevator pitch was part of it because she developed this idea to present to younger staff and train them to do this because people can meander for 3 minutes or they can talk for 5 seconds. People aren't necessarily aware of how that works. You actually have to time yourself. 30 seconds. Really, you only have the first 10 to grab someone's attention, right? It's a sales pitch with you as the product. Networking with you is the product. Communicate who you are, what you're offering and what you're looking for. If you remember our networking pitches, our elevator pitches, it's exactly what we do. There are important aspects to this. It's customized for the individual. I gave an elevator pitch which was customized for this audience as best as I could. I don't know what to do, but I customized as best I could. If I was giving an elevator pitch to the CEO of my company, it would be different. Okay, it has to have a personal element. I can't avoid having personal elements in some. It's just what I do. Okay, what does a good network have? It has breadth, relationships which are diverse, and a large range of contacts. It has connectivity, the ability to span across different peoples, different organizations that wouldn't otherwise connect. It has dynamism. Oh, it's a great word, dynamism. It's a set of extended ties that evolve as you do, right? Change, constant change is here to stay. We talked about that. Reciprocity. Now, this is more about behaviors than qualities. Go into networking expecting to trade something and people go, oh, they could trade. Well, yes, you do. You have your worldview from where you are. right? Even if you're an intern in an organization, that worldview is important. Other people don't have that worldview. It's very important. Think about what it is you want to learn or achieve. If you're doing strategic networking in particular, go in with a goal. And that depends on which sort of networking you're looking at, but especially true for strategic networking. And what you want the other person to see. You're not going to divulge everything. You're going to talk about what you want that person to see. All right, networking for leaders. I'm going to skip over this fairly quickly. This is from a book called Tribal Leadership. It was very, very powerful. Again, when I read this, it was the best book I'd ever read. Focus on the team or group you're in. Never stand above someone and network down to them like that. You know, you don't want to be finger wagging at someone. Get amongst the group, speak the language, learn the language. I've just said that. Learn the language. If you want to change the language, you have to do it from within. You don't do it from on high. Okay. Influence how people see themselves and relate to each other. This is in red because it is the most important thing that I think a leader can do. Influence how people see each other and themselves. Change the language, you change the tribe. And I said use triads there, not dyads. I just gave a little example using Laurie and Skip there. I formed a triad where we talk together. That is a leadership action. All right, final pointers. Do's and don'ts. As I said in the introduction, all the don'ts I have done. Okay, do think about what to say, particularly in strategic networking. Think about what you want. Think about what to trade. Be aware that interactions alter us. As people learn things, their neurons physically move. Okay, how do you want to be altered today? How do you want to alter somebody else today? Give others space. Speak and have a break. And then listen. There's 3 different levels of listening. I'm not going to go into those here. Really listen for what things are together, what you are together with that interaction. As I said, I've done all this. Do not talk without thinking.
Keep going, keep going. Don't
I've
need to
done
stop,
that.
keep going.
That has consequences. Do not divulge information randomly or recklessly. I've done that. That hurts. It literally damages your network. Do not make assumptions about who they are, what they do, how they feel, or what they think.
Right.
It's huge. Let them tell you those things and lead them to that if they want to. Don't make that assumption. I've done that. Okay. Don't go into important meetings unprepared unless you can soft shoe anything and everything. I'm pretty good, but then at a high level, I will think about what I want to get out of a meeting and what I want to present and how I want a senior person to see me. Do not disrespect other people's time. Someone said, first rule about networking is turn up, right? Don't ghost people. Do not disrespect other people's time. Summary and conclusions, I'm not going to go through this. We're out of time. The thing I want to highlight there, and everything I've spoken about and everything we've talked about together, is I think strategy is important. I think this is one thing we agree on. A lot of people don't have a strategic element to their networks. It does matter, and it can be paramount to your success. Okay, that's it. You've been a fantastic audience. Thank you so much.
Right, question and answer time.
Do we get to sit now, right?
You can sit.
Okay, good.
Thank you. We'll throw one out there. Do you recommend having a goal when you go into a networking situation?
I think it depends on the situation. So it depends on, like, if you're going and meeting a senior person, I think, yeah, you probably should have a goal. And one of those, or maybe several, one of those goals I would have is to learn about what that person sees and how that person operates. If, you know, if I am networking for a specific reason, there may be other goals as well to discuss particular things, particular business things. Those are obviously important goals. But if I'm going to a party, I'm not going to have a goal, right?
I say
Except to
yes.
have fun.
I say yes. I say have a goal. When I talk about networking, when I go into a networking event, my goal is to always meet at least one or two new people I don't know, get a couple business cards, and then have a coffee date. I'm always about, let's meet new friends, so be prepared when you see me networking, okay? Because I will be asking for your business card. I say yes, definitely have a goal.
Did you have a goal when you met me?
That is not fair. You can't do that. So I think I need to take this guy a coffee.
Speaking of business cards, Lori, someone in the chat said, do you give it out to everybody? Or when is a good time to exchange business cards at events?
So that's a great question. I have found what I like to do is when I meet somebody I've never met before, I want to know more about you. I ask lots of questions about you, and I will ask for a business card. I will ask for yours. And if they say, what do you do? That's when I will talk about myself and offer a business card if they want one. I am not the kind of person you see at a networking event. I'm Lori Powell, here's my card. I'm Lori. No, that is the biggest turnoff. People will run the other way. And especially in my line of work, because I have an online business, people think that, oh, she just wants to make a sale. They don't know me very well. So it's always about why, I always am about how can I help, who, I already said twice. Okay, that's all.
Question from the room?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Annie.
Hi, Annie.
Hi. My question for you guys is, I noticed that you didn't talk about follow-up after making a connection. How soon do you do that? Is that important to you? And what does that look like for each of you?
Okay, so the question is about follow-up. The observation was we didn't talk about that, and that's fine, fair, that's very fair.
That's good.
And you know, in my strengths analysis, follow-up was one of my weakest things. It's like, I'm good at making connections, but then you're like, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, what do we do about follow-up and how do we see that? And so my answer to that, if I may go first, I think you're going to have something to say about this too. I would go back to what I was talking about. We're trying to be bigger than the sum of your parts with people. And then also to say, again, that everything that I'm doing now is the result of networking. That implies that I did follow up, but you have a choice what to follow up on, don't you? So it's like, if you're trying to work out who you're going to work with to be bigger than the sum of your parts, you're making a decision there, I guess. And so, yes, you pick which, because you don't have time to network solely with everyone you meet. There's only one life, there's only so many years, there's only so much time. And so you have to be strategic in that, and then you follow up strategically. That's my answer.
That's good. That's good. So when I'm in a networking event and I get a card from someone, if I tell them I'm going to follow up, I do it within just a couple of days. I try really hard. If I meet you on a Friday, I'm going to probably follow up on Monday, right? So I'm not going to text you on the weekends like, hey, guess what? We just met. Okay, no, I'm not going to do that. But I do it within a couple of days.
That's what you did with me.
Oh my gosh, stop that. Anyway,
Sorry.
so it's important to follow up, because I believe, I'm just gonna sound, I'm not trying to sound salesy, I swear. I was taught fortune is in the follow-up. If you don't follow up, you will not make a sale, period. So if you are looking to sell something or grow something, you have to follow up. You don't, why? Why are you even going networking? Why are you doing anything? Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. Sorry. Sorry.
How do you blast away the fear of networking as an introvert? How do you reduce the awkwardness?
Okay, those are very good questions. I have an answer to that. So this was something I spent a little more time on with junior staff, because it can be intimidating when you're in a new organization and you're trying to network and you don't know the lay of the land, and you're trying not to make some of those mistakes that I pointed out at the end, which I've done. And so what you can do is some or all of the following, is that you can network with other people. So rather than going and cold calling on your own, knocking on people's office doors and introducing yourself, what you can do, form a core group that you think of as your home group, get to know those people, work out where you're at together, then look at where you want to go in common, and then start bringing people in by invite to talk to you, that really blasts away the fear because you're not alone. And so now you can reach out to people together, and then you can have them come and talk to you. You can then go to their people and talk to them. And then you start giving presentations, and eventually you start doing stuff like this. I'm not kidding. This is how it worked for me. I wasn't good at networking. I started doing precisely that. I started going to conferences and giving my discussions about what I was doing. I was as nervous as all get out to start with. It doesn't bother me at all anymore. And I think that was when I discovered that I was an expressive and a people person. But that comes with practice. But working together really helps.
That is a great question, Paul. What I'd like to do for my friends that are really introverted is almost similar, just on a little bit of a different slant. And that is, if I know that you're uncomfortable, I will take you with me to my networking events. I will meet you places. I will introduce you personally to people, and then talk, just be present with them, and then encourage them to meet me at the next event, and then ask them to, hey, maybe you guys should set up a coffee date. So just start connecting people to other people, do it for them in the beginning, so they're not so uncomfortable doing it on their own next time. And it may take me 2 or 3 times to do that with a friend. And I'm like, you know what, let's do it 3 or 4, 6, I don't care, whatever you need, let's do it. I'll take you everywhere. So
Something I try to do when I go into a room is find an anchor person. They call it an anchor person, someone you know in the room. Get comfortable with that person, read the room, get comfortable, and then say to that person, I promised myself I'm gonna meet 2 new people today. And then give each other a knuckle bump and then go foray into the unknown. But find the anchor person, get comfortable, settle yourself down, then move into somebody new.
that's good.
Another question?
Yes.
Yeah, so I got a question for you. So in a world where there's so many different network events, different things going on, are there any tips and tricks that you guys use in order to prioritize the different type of networking situations you're going to put yourself in? Because time and energy is finite, and we can't be everywhere all the time. So are there tips and tricks you guys use in isolating which place or which group or what demographic of group that you're looking at, and how do you do that?
I'm gonna let Laurie answer that. Do you want to repeat the question?
That was a long question. How do I prioritize when I'm looking at networking, right? The question is, how do I know where to go to network? Because there's so many multiple things. How do I know what's a good fit for what I do? And because there's only so much time and so much energy that I have as one person. So with my business as health and wellness coach, I'm not gonna go to the bar and talk to people at a winery or a bar and go, hey, I can help you. Right? I make sure to make it a priority. Like, I know we've been invited to do some events like at the boat races. I don't think people want to talk about health and wellness at the boat races. I don't. So I'm very strategic. And there's events in our community that I am going to go to that are just, they have like-minded people, right? And sometimes I'll go to an event and I'll be like, yep, this wasn't the right one for me, right? So you learn, but again, you need to know kind of what is that event going to be for? Who's it going to be focused on? And does it fit for what you're trying to look for? Because I can only go to 20 networking events a week.
That's what I leave for you, Lord.
Wow.
Since I've never been good at networking, keeping him finding, ones that are semi-solid-ish. How do I get past, and since I'll never meet Lori, for you, because you don't come where I am, but, in that, how do I get past the idea of there's an ask in there? There is an exchange of, not just information, but potentially, how do you get to the point where it's like, okay, we met a couple of different times, and how do I get to that question? Do you have a trick or a tip to say, okay, that plan you were talking about, make that plan, have that, goal? That's probably my goal, to get past the idea of I can't ask for anything.
Okay, so the question, Skip asked the question, is like, how do you get past, it's almost a reticence to pitch the ask.
Sure.
Right, okay. That's a really good question. You're not alone in that one. You remember when I was talking about the strategic networking, most of the time you are going into that strategic situation with an ask. Not all networking interactions are like that. So, in the bigger scheme of the personal professional network, a lot of things do happen spontaneously and you don't have to have that ask and you end up doing something awesome together anyway. I mean, Laurie is now part of my network. Thank you, Paul. And it's how that works. We will be friends now and we will continue doing whatever it is we decide to work on together here and there. And that's good. But when you're going into a strategic situation, so you must be referring to situations where you do want to talk to someone for a given reason, yes?
Eventually, sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. So the way to get around that is to realize that they're just as shy about that as you are, most likely. And that going into a network situation with an ask is not a bad thing. And so I look at it this way. Sometimes if you don't have an ask, it can kind of leave the other person wondering why.
Okay.
Okay? Because a lot of us are, in particular in the strategic level of things, it's a bit transactional. So you're actually scratching an itch there to saying, here's what I want back. And so I actually teach people in the strategic level of my kind of networking, be prepared to say what you want. And then people will say, oh, now I get it, because it's no longer hidden. That actually is extremely powerful and it helps them because it's clear. Okay. And so, and I'm circling around something and I just have to get back to that central piece, that reticence. You just have to confront it. Okay. Because it's something that it's kind of like a shadow that a lot of people have there, and it's not actually real. People do want to know why you're doing this. Why are you talking to me? They're going to want to know that. Right. Tell them, okay, I'm Matt Taubman, I do these things. What I want is this. Here's what I'm offering. And if they can go, no, we gave it the office, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Or they can say, yeah, I can do that. I can give you that. That would be good. Let's work on this, right? Okay. I tend to be quite direct when it's strategic. But I don't do that at parties because, well, I'm just going there to have a drink. But that will happen anyway, most of the time in that environment. Does that help? Does that answer?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're asking, because I want to make sure I answer it correctly if I even can. So you're saying when you network, how do you ask for what you need, or how are you looking to make a sale? Are you looking to advertise your business, or what are you?
Well, when you begin the network process, when we walked in here today, I don't know anybody here.
Yeah.
And so that process began as here's what I have to offer, but it's not necessarily, there is, talking to Brian behind me saying, okay, here's what I can offer you as far as the services where I work and the things that I can do. And here's some of our strengths and then having a connection to how business works and being able to say, okay, well, here's an exchange that we might be able to work together on something immediately. But it is more of an exchange, not an ask. I'm not going into Brian and going, hey, by the way, I could definitely use a new set of tires for my car. Can I, come to you for a little bit of help there? That's a little too personal right off the bat. And I would never do that in the first place. A little extreme example, but it is a resistance to, for me, it's a resistance to saying, okay, well, I don't want to have too big an ask with, because I don't know anybody here. I'm missing information that I might need to say, I have a bigger ask. We have a population that we're working with that are looking for jobs. And part of that process, we can provide services to you, but it's a balancing act to where it's like, okay, it's too soon to ask. Too soon to ask.
So can our audience hear him talking at all?
Yes.
Okay. So as I'm listening to you talk, I'm listening to you. So when I walk into a networking room, my goal is to find out what you need. I'm going to ask you, right? And that's what I think people kind of struggle with. They are not interested in what They're more interested in about telling you about themselves. So I make it a point to ask you questions about who you are, what you do. Because sometimes you're gonna find when you're talking to somebody and asking them more about them, you're gonna find where you can talk about what you do. A door will open if you are more interested in them than you are interested in selling what you have or sharing. Right? So for me, it's always about finding out what is important for you. And that will open that door. And then you'll know if that person is someone that is looking for what you have to offer. And also take them to coffee anyway, get to know them, because you know what? They may know people, because you're gonna start having that conversation, building that relationship and following up with them, right? All of those are key in building your network.
So I was finishing my 30-second pitch as you guys were telling us to stop, but in 5 seconds, I found out he's a window cleaner, and I've been looking at my windows for 2 years thinking, I should probably have somebody clean my windows. So
There you go.
I
Love
don't
it.
got a guy for that, but I got a guy for a lot of things.
Yeah, just have it right there.
That's fantastic.
Sam had a question in the back.
It was pretty much the same question, at what point do you ask for the business? Because I go to working events a lot and I've seen you for I've known you for years, but, and you are doing everything that you were saying on the slides, and it's really cool to have known you and known that everything that you're saying is genuine. But you've never asked me to buy your AdvoCare products.
Right. I have never asked you to buy my AdvoCare products because the opportunity has never presented itself and I'm not a salesy person. I want to know you as a person, and if you know what I do, you're gonna ask me. I don't advertise. I mean, I'm very select, because I don't want you to think of, oh, she's just trying to push AdvoCare, right? Because that's not what I do. I share solutions.
I did have that emptiness when we first, everybody's looking at me. Multi-level marketing for a couple of years when I was in college, and that's just how it was with everybody, and you contact people and your only thing is to do the ask.
Yep.
And so when I first met you, I was like, oh, AdvoCare.
Yep. Yeah, you coward, and I'm not telling you.
But
Yeah.
you never got, my presumption never came to fruition.
Right.
Because
multi-level marketers are pushy, salesy people.
Yep.
I am breaking the mold.
There you go.
I have broke the mold, actually.
This question for the room, how many of you use a CRM to do follow-up for networking? Would you raise your hand? Best tips from the room?
CRM is.
Say it again. Yeah, you know what a CRM is, Customer Relationship Manager. Who has tips on how you use your CRM in conjunction with networking? Just to go real quick, here we go, let's
So
tip.
I would just say use it every time you meet a new person, and don't, if you get their card, their business card, you can take a picture of it or copy it down when you get home right away.
Love it.
I was gonna say, my CRM allows me to create tasks in it as well, so usually if I meet someone and I know I wanna follow up them the next Monday or whatever, I'll put their information in and then create a task so that my system actually reminds me.
Ooh, so
Hey,
good.
you need to, or you could even, a lot of email systems will let you you can hit send later, and then, so you can type it out and hit send later for 3 days. You don't
so you don't look like a weirdo sending an email at 11 p.m.
So good.
Right.
What I've found is that I think the best time to get in somebody's ears when you're already in their ears. So whenever I conclude a meeting or I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I say, hey, Andrew, when would be a good time for me to follow up with you about this?
That's a good one too.
And I'm asking him while I have his attention, and then as soon as he says, you know what, let's meet next week, I put a reminder in my CRM immediately to do that.
And then if you don't have a CRM and you do events and different things like I do, if I think about somebody, I usually just send them a text, because I'm like, I thought about you, so I'm texting you. That's an easy way to break the mold of like, oh, did I wait too long to follow up? And if they start talking to you, guess what? You're still in.
Yep.
I've used a couple different CRMs, and the one that I've been really loyal to the most has been Google Sheets. And the truth is, the best CRM is the one that you use.
Yeah.
That's right, when you use, absolutely.
Last question, for both of you, how do you start a conversation with a stranger? What are your go-to lines, walking up
She's
to a
never
complete
met one.
stranger?
Nor have I.
What do you say? What's the first line that you say?
I think that depends a lot. I mean, I will use humor more than not,
Mhm.
because humor is a bridge that
It is.
that covers a lot of ground, and it will be related to what is going on into the room most of the time, or other things that may be apparent, like if it's late in the afternoon or something like. A joke often breaks the ice so thoroughly, and then you can talk about anything. And so that is probably the best answer I've got
So
for you.
link it to something going on in the room.
And use
essentially,
humor.
And
Yeah.
use humor,
Yeah.
okay, Lori?
Well, I always smile and say hi. I always
good
smile
start.
and say hi, hold out my hand for a handshake. And if you ever see me in a grocery store and you're looking at yogurt, or if you're looking at protein bars, and we're both standing there, I'm gonna go, oh, there's so many decisions, which one are you gonna get? But when I meet you in a networking event, I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna introduce myself because I don't know you. I'm gonna smile and say hi. At least that's my goal.
Okay.
It's the number one most effective pickup line too.
Now everybody's looking at you guys.
Stand out.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Let's thank our experts today for dedicating their time. Again, hit them up for their information afterward. The slides will be emailed to you through a PDF, and the video of today will be placed on YouTube. We also again want to thank STCU for sponsoring Ask the Experts, making it free to participate. Would you do us a favor and fill out the evaluation form? If you're in the room, you can fill that out. Just leave it face down on your table. If you are on Zoom, there's the QR code for you to fill out there, so we can keep making these fantastic. We are going to be making a switch with Ask the Experts. It's still going to be continuing, but with a different focus. And I'm going to be handing the baton off to Lisa Arneson. Come on up here, Lisa. Tell us the exciting things that are happening.
Well, first of all, can we all just give a hand for Paul? Has made this program so spectacular, just brought so much energy and made it better and brought fantastic speakers and topics. And I have really big shoes to fill and I'm a little nervous about it, but
Thank you very much.
thank you for
Appreciate it.
all that you have done for us. So again, thanking our speakers today. So I am the Workforce and Education Coordinator at the Tri-City Regional Chamber. And this program has now come under me. And so a couple of things that I just wanted to pass along. One is to introduce myself, because you'll see me at these events going forward. Two, again, to thank Paul for all he's done. Our February topic is going to be bridging generations together, preparing for the needs of a multi-generational team. So we did a workforce survey and that was the #1 topic. And so we're going to bring that to you in February. On the bottom of your survey, you're going to see 2 questions that are highlighted. One is, do you have a topic on workplace? So 2025 Ask the Experts going to be focused on workplace. Things like culture, how to, best practices, tips, tricks, all those kind of things. So if you have a topic, we'd appreciate it. And then we're also looking for speakers. So if you know an expert, a subject matter person that loves to talk, I mean, these guys were fantastic on networking. I can't think of 2 better networking people that I know and heard. But if you have a subject matter person that you think, hey, they would be fantastic, if you could just put their name down and where they work or something about them so we could follow up with them, that we would appreciate that. So anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for filling out the survey and we look forward to seeing you guys next month. And that is February 18th, I believe. Is that confirmed?
I trust you.
February 18th.
So just one, can I just add one note there? I'm between business cards right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So, we're gonna send out a PDF of the slides for you. If we could probably arrange just to have my email on there, you wanna add your email to that too, so,
Whatever works, also have business cards in the back.
okay, however that works, yeah, so that way you don't have to, write down my email now, we'll just send that out with the slides. So, thank you for listening,
Yes.
thank you for participating.
Thank
This was fantastic.